Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururithyabhidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So it's been almost a month since we had the class last, so long time ago. In the last class, we had talked about the second Ashtanga, the 8 pieces, if you want, 8 steps really of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, and that one was niyama. So if you recall, we went into niyama, and so based on the commentary by Swami Akhandanandji on Aparoksha Anubhuti, he had talked about first, he has given the Ashtanga yoga from the Yoga Sutras, and then he is also given the Vedantic versions of that, and there are 15 of them instead of 8. So this is what we are going through. So last class we went through the yoga part of the second step, which is niyama. First off was yama, the second one was niyama. And as you know, just as a quick revision, it had 5 main parts of niyama from a yoga standpoint, which is shaucha, which is cleanliness, both outside cleanliness, inside cleanliness. Then tapaha. So tapaha means the ability to be disciplined, to withstand problems despite any issues that might come up. Just keeping your centrality to exactly what you're trying to do, regardless of any obstacles. That is tapaha. Pardon me, I think you'll have to excuse me. I'd have to clear my throat because I still have a lot of follow-on things from the COVID. The COVID, I think, is gone, but I still have a lot of phlegm and all those kinds of things. So please forgive me. So the third one is swadhyaya. So swadhyaya means that exactly a study of what the basics are. What is it that we are trying to do? So to keep looking at it again and again every day. So this is true for Vedanta also, and also true for yoga. So this is called swadhyaya. The fourth one was santosha. So santosha means that now doing making sure that your tendency in life is to be satisfied more often than you used to do before. This is what santosha would mean. Santosha, of course, means that whatever happens, this is what we went through, prasada buddhi, whatever is given to you, you feel I'm okay, that's all I need. But I think expanding that in our life, what it means is there is a certain way of thinking, way of making conclusions. And if you don't have the attention to santosha, then what happens is that you become an internal complainer all the time. This is not done, I wish I could do this, why did that person do this, things are not really making progress. So you always have this internal sense of incompleteness. And santosha means to be aware of the fact that this is not helpful to you. Forget about anybody else. We're not talking about to us. What is helpful is slowly developing a sense of being satisfied. It's okay, whatever it is. And you have to tell your mind about it too. And so this is what is called santosha. And you have to tell your mind that it's okay. It's whatever it was, there is a reason for the way things are, and let me be okay. So this is looking at the glass being half full rather than half empty. So this is called santosha. And the last one, which is the most important one, is Ishvara Pranidhanam. And so this is a topic that I think we will reorient our thinking towards more and more towards Ishvara Pranidhanam. In the last month or so, when I was not well, as I wrote to you on my email, I really felt very fortunate that I was able to study without any interruption. I mean, I was isolated. For the first half of it, my wife did not have COVID, so I was isolated even from her in a different room. And so that provided me with a lot of time to study. I didn't have any TV, or I didn't want to have TV. It's just books. Occasionally I would look at internet to see what the news is and so on, as I normally do. But more and more I used to study, and I've studied a lot of interesting, very important books in this period. So I feel very fortunate. And all of these books by Swami Akhandananda ji, which I will talk about in more detail later, pinpoint this point about Ishvara Pranidhanam. It's not as though that I didn't know about it, but the emphasis, the focus was really helped a lot by the pravachans, all the talks by Swami Akhandananda ji. Very helpful. And you will see me bring those in as various topics from time to time. So it was interesting that we were already talking about Ishvara Pranidhanam even before we had this episode. But now I think I'm going to spend much more time on that, which will come in due time. Anyway, so this was the yogic view of niyama. Now let us look at the Vedantic view of niyama. Okay. So in introducing that, Swami Akhandananda ji, because this book, this commentary by Swami Akhandananda on Aparoksha Anubhuti, I had started to study it before this last 1 month's COVID episode. And so I have slowly been rediscovering the beauty of his talks even before this time, but it got accelerated. And now I have spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I'm still studying. And I will continue to focus on it. So here, Swami Akhandananda, in introducing the Vedantic view of niyama, says the following. He says that in the Yoga Shastra or in the Dharma Shastra, So Dharma Shastra is really called Bhakti Marga. It is the path of prayerfulness, of really doing, visiting all the Tirthasthanams, all the places of pilgrimage, going to temple, doing chanting. So this is what would be called as Saguna Brahma Upasana. So, but there the main point is bhakti. And so, for example, the Vaishnavas and Shaivas, they all are based on bhakti. So this is what is called Dharma Marga, Bhakti Marga. This is number 2. So there are 3 of them that he mentions. So one of them is Yoga Shastra. Second one is Bhakti Shastra. And the third one is Upasana. So the Upasana is basically based on Saguna Brahma chanting, Saguna Brahma enquiry. And so this is also, so sometimes, as you know, the Vedas are divided into 2 parts. What is called Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. So Karma Kanda means that is where karma is pradhanam, is the main, and jnanam is secondary, or Jnana Kanda where the knowledge is primary and karma is secondary. So sometimes there is a division of these two ways of looking at the Vedic teaching. But there is also another way of looking at it, is where karma is divided into 2 parts. One part is doing something with your body, with your speech, etc. And so going to temples, chanting, visiting pilgrimages, holy places, doing teaching, all this is called karma based. Then there is manasa pramana, manasa karma. So manasika karma means one which is done all mentally. You're not doing anything outside. You don't use karma indriyas for it. You're just doing prayers. So all the stutis, stotram. So Dakshinamurti stotram, Durga stotram, Medha Shakti, so Medha Devi, all those kinds of things are called Manasa Upasana. This is called Upasana Shastra. Alright, so these are the 3. Those are Yoga Shastra, Bhakti Shastra and Upasana Shastra. So in all 3, Swami Akhandanandaji points out that in all 3, it involves a flow of thoughts. So this is what is called bhavaha. So the word bhavaha means an attitude, a flow of your thoughts, your conclusions, your focus, your commitment. This is called bhava pradhana in all 3 of them. And this bhava pradhana is what is called kartritantram. So this is an important thing to see. It's nothing absolutely new. We have been doing this. So it's not as though it's a brand new thing that we are doing it. But in terms of the definition, perhaps we may not have done this as much. This is what is called kartra pradhana. Karta pradhana means, or karta tantra, karta tantra. So karta tantra means that it is based on the doer. based on the doer, the person. Every person is an individual. As you know, we are all slightly different from each other. We have some strengths and some weaknesses, certain vasanas, our backgrounds are different, our status is different, our ages are different, etc., etc. We all have differences. So we all have a different, we may want to do the same thing that is being prescribed, but our ability to do that depends very much on our own self. Not everybody is able to do the same thing, as you know very well. And so this is what is called Kartra Tantram. So the three margas, the three shastras that we spoke of, Swamiji says, are Karta Tantram. So this is the yogic view, which is also similar to the dharmic view, which is also similar to the upasana view. Very similar. All three of them are a common thing. Then comes Vedanta. And this is what I think he is now introducing. So he says that in Vedanta, this is not the way we look at it. And the Vedantic view is that it is Vastu Tantra, not Karta Tantra. And so the simple example of Vastu Tantra means that it is all based on what the object is that you are trying to get. What is the goal? What is the word Vastu? It should not be translated as what is a thing, because it is not a inert. So this is Brahman. The Vastu here is Brahman. And so Brahman is not a inert thing. You cannot say it's a thing, as we say about a table or something. But it is a Vastu. Vastu means there is some reality to it. It has something that is true. And so in terms of the Vastu Tantram, what is said is that it does not depend on the karta, it depends on the Vastu. This is the Vedantic view. Simple example is that if you have, let's say you have an apple, and the apple is a little bit far away from you, you have a lot of different fruits on the table, and you want to really eat an apple. That's what your favorite fruit is. Or this is what the doctor says, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So you just want to have an apple in the morning. Now, looking at the apple, it does not depend upon the person looking at it, that some person may look at it as a pear, some people may look at it as an apple, some people may look at it as a stone fruit, some people may look at it as a real fruit. That's not the case. It is what it is, and it has to be correctly identified. This is what is called Vastu Tantra, as opposed to Karta Tantra, which has a certain bhavana associated with it. Bhava Pradhana. Bhava Pradhana means that you have a like and dislike. You may say, I don't like this particular apple. I wish it is not ripe enough for me. And sometimes in our family what happens is there's a couple of us, myself included, that we cannot digest the skin of the apple as well as we'd like to. And my younger daughter-in-law is the same as me. I just found that out just about a year ago. So she also cannot eat an apple with the skin on. I cannot also. I mean, I can, but I'd rather not. And so I have to skin the apple, and then I love it. Then my digestion and enjoyment is good. So there are certain likes and dislikes you may have. You may see that this is a golden delicious, which is my favorite, or you can have some Washington apple, different kinds of apples and so on. You may have a like and dislikes. That is called bhava pradhana. But vastu pradhana means it is exactly what it is. Okay, so this is the background. So let me now summarize. So here, what does it really mean when you talk about kartru pradhana, that the yoga system is kartru pradhana and the Vedantic system is vastu pradhana, vastu tantra? What does it mean? What it means is whether you think about Brahman, whether your thoughts are conducive towards it or not, it is still Brahman. This is an important thing to see, really an important thing. What it means is, if you and I think we are not free individuals, we are bound by our limitations, which means exactly what our life is all about. We are bound by various limitations. Even if we think we are bound, we are not bound. You see, this is an important distinction between the yogic system and the Vedantic system. So let's pay attention to that. In the yogic system, you conclude that right now I am bound. Bound means that I have lots of different thoughts and they are fleeting, going in all in direction. I don't really have control over it. I need to bring my thoughts down through yama, niyama, then asana and all of those kinds of things, all the way up to dhyanam and then samadhi. That means that I am bound at the moment, but I am tending towards being unbound. This is the yogic system, right? The Vedanta says, please see that even if you feel you are bound, you are not bound. It's like saying whether you like it or not, it is an apple. So even when you think you are, even in the state of being bound, you are unbound. Even if you are in the state of a dream, you are really not a dreamer. You are pure consciousness. Even when you are awake, you are pure consciousness. That does not change at all. So, in the view of Vedanta, whether you understand it or not, you think and conclude that you are not Brahman or not, you are still Brahman. And in this thinking, there is no such thing as Brahman being inert or coming and going or touched with sorrow, touched with plurality, touched with death, or there's no question about it. This is what is called Vastu Tantra. So in terms of, let's take one example, which is Santosha. So the Santosha means that if the previous state where you are irritated all the time, you're looking for some improvements here and there and so on, you accept the fact that you are irritated and you try to control it and move towards being non-irritated, isn't it? This is exactly what our life is. As we become more disciplined, more mature and so on, we are less bothered by our internal irritation and slowly becoming more accepting of ourselves. But this is a process. You have to go through stages. In the Vedantic way of looking at santosha, it is how funny that I am irritated even though I am not. I mean, that also has to, this is what Shravanam means. You have to really understand the reality of the Atma, that it is not possible for it to be irritated. Because consciousness does not allow, it does not allow any changes. It is inherently free. And so this much you should know by the study of Vedanta. And if you know that, then santosha takes a different form altogether, which means that even if you feel irritated, there is a smile on your face and saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, that I am inherently non-irritated and there is a semblance of irritation on me. And so this is what is called Vastu Tantra. And so now we can summarize that the Vedantic view of niyama is actually in one of the verses that was cited here was the one that we studied in Drigdrishya Viveka. I don't remember exactly what verse number it was. I think maybe 20, 21, somewhere in there, which says, Dvaita abhimane galite vigyate paramatmani yatra yatra manoyati tatra tatra samadhayaha. So what it means is that even though things look as though they are plurality, but the understanding is that there is no such thing as plurality. There is only singularity, and the rest of them are nothing but copies of the singularity. This is how the whole creation is. And so there is no, it is Brahman all the way. Even when I don't feel I am Brahman. And when I feel I am Brahman, of course I am Brahman. When I know I am Brahman, then of course I know Brahman. There is nothing Brahman alone. This is the Vedantic view of niyama. So the niyama, there was more to it, but I think I need to summarize it and go ahead with it. So much more to do. So in summary, please see that the difference between the yogic view and the Vedantic view of niyama is that in the yogic view, you accept your limitations and you start with it by slowly removing it. In the Vedantic view, you don't accept your limitations. You know, it's not as though you are making foolish make-believe. Because yes, our experience is that of limitation. But even when I have an experience of limitation, I should know that there is no such thing as a limitation. Limitation is just a way of looking at it. Like a room space is just a way of looking at the space. There is no such thing as the space being enclosed anywhere. It cannot be enclosed. And then my thinking is, my goodness, how is it that I am just fooling myself that I am limited when in fact I am not? The whole attitude is different. So that is the Vedantic view of Niyama. And so with that, I know because of time, I wish I could spend more time on this. But in fact, in the book Apaloksha Anubhuti, verse number 105 defines this. Sajatiya pravahascha vijatiya tiraskritihi niyamohi paramananda niyama akriyate buddhaihi. He says this is the definition of the wise, the buddhaihi. Not any yogic definition or anything, because it is all nothing but Vastu Tantra. And anyway, it's not sure that I completely could give you time on this, but this is really more of a quick introduction to the various steps involved. And because of the limitation of time, I will go ahead and go on to the next one. Okay, so let us start the Gita class. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandatami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramarutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadai Gayantiyam Samagaha Dhyana Vastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyantiyam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Okay, so in the last class, we analyzed verse number 12 of the second chapter of the Gita. And let me open up the pages for that. And so what the verse number 12 said was, Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha na chaivana bhavishyamaha sarve vayamataf param. So Krishna is teaching Arjuna that listen, there was never a time when I was not there, or that I will not be there. There is never a time that you were not there and you will also not be there. And there was never a time that all of these kings that we are fighting were not there, or that will not be there. So this was, and that you're becoming very sad because of this war, etc., is unfounded. This is stupidity. Because you are basing your conclusions on something which is false. You think you're going to be either killed or you're going to kill somebody. It doesn't happen. You cannot do it. And so then, in the commentary of Swami Shankarananda, such a tall claim has to be backed up with logic. You cannot just say, you're so stupid, why don't you just get it and then just move on? That doesn't help. the person has to be persuaded why the person is wrong. And so we went through all of that, and so there we saw that the key logical step, there was a lot of different things pointed out, but there is a kind of like a fulcrum, a key point based on which everything is wound around. And that one was, as we saw, I want to see the page on it, on this book that I have on page 43, is what is called Vyapti Vyabhicharaha. So this is what we saw last week. We spent a lot last class. So this is called Vyapti Vyabhicharaha. So Vyapti Vyabhicharaha means that your articulation of certain conclusions may be wrong because of a fundamental error that you are making. So there the Vyapti means that wherever there is a smoke, there must be a fire there. This is very simple thing. Wherever there is a smoke, there is fire. Here the key thing is the word there. Wherever there is a smoke, that's where the fire should be. So we saw this example that supposing you see a smoke in San Jose, you cannot conclude that it was in Denver, Colorado. Or even closer, you cannot say that it's in San Francisco. There is a smoke coming out of San Jose. I'm very fortunate that from my property I'm high enough that on one side I can't see all the downtown of San Jose, but I can see the direction of San Jose, and in the other direction I can actually see the downtown of San Francisco. And so you cannot say there is a fire on this side, there is smoke on this side, therefore there is a fire there. You can't do that. This is what is called Vyapti Vyabhichara. You throw the Vyapti completely. I think I was thinking over it over the last few days. There is a beautiful example which I remember, I don't know, Swami Dayananji maybe gave. And that is sometimes, you have a window. And you're looking at the window. All of a sudden, you see a kind of a dangerous looking bug on the window. Dangerous looking means could be either a yellow jacket or a bee. If it is just a fly, that's not that dangerous, although it's irritating, but it's not that dangerous. But a yellow jacket or a bee can sting you. And so you don't want that to be inside the house. So now you're looking at the window and you see a yellow jacket or a bee sitting on the window, quietly sitting there. And your first thought is, oh my God, what is it doing that inside my home? So what do I need to do? And I'm very practiced at this. We've had some problems with flies that are born inside the home. It's a huge problem. This has happened 3 or 4 times in the last 10 years, 15 years. Just happened recently. You have dozens of flies that are born inside the home from somewhere. They're not coming from outside. They're just keeping on born. How do you take them out? So I have an elaborate system where I take a cup. It has to be a plastic cup so that if you put it on the window, it doesn't break the window. And then you have to have some kind of a page, and then you hopefully get it quickly down, trap the fly, put it inside, you close it, open the door, and you take it out. I have done this dozens of times in the last 2 months or so. Dozens of times. Very occasionally, you trample the fly and it dies. That happens maybe less than 5% of the time. It's inevitable. But I try not to do that. But so fly is okay as an irritation, but if you have a yellow jacket, and I have been stung with a yellow jacket, and it's painful, or a bee, your concern is much more. And you start getting cups ready, and you may even have some. You may not be able to get it. You may have to kill it. Then as you approach nearby, you find that the bee is actually on the other side of the glass. Not inside, it is outside. What a relief it is. You have a smile on your face and you say, oh my gosh, I was fooled. You just didn't know. So this is what is called Vyapti Vyabhichara. How? Because you thought that the bee was inside. But the nature of the glass is such that it is not easy to tell whether it is inside or outside, particularly if you are farther away from it. As you get closer to it, yes, you can probably tell. Even then, you're afraid to touch it, because what if I'm wrong and it stings me? But once you go close to it and you try to attack it, and of course nothing happens, and the bee is fast asleep. A little bit of disturbance doesn't bother it, it's still there. Then there is such a relief. So this is what is called Vyapti Vyabhichara. So, of course, the stages are different, because yes, there is actually an apparent killing involved. There is an apparent loss of life possible. But there is just a delay. Then in the next life you find that the Atma cannot be killed. Even in this life you should see that the Atma cannot be killed, that you're making a big mistake. This is not what it is. So this one was talked about in the 12th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter. And Swami Shankarananda ji went through a very detailed analysis of the logic of this accusation by Krishna that you are stupid. This is not how things are. The wise people don't think it this way. Okay, so this is what's done. Okay, now let's go to the next verse, which is number 13. And this is given on page 48 of this book. And some of the other books may have a slight different meaning. Different page number rather. But so here, verse number 13 is Dehinosmin yatha dehe Kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhirastatra namuhyate. So he says, Dehinaha. Dehinaha means one who has a body. Each one of us. So this is a human being, or any being for that matter, but here the human being, each human being is endowed with a body. Otherwise we will not be called a human being. So Dehi means a person endowed with a Deha. Deha means body. And the complete body, not just Sthula Sharira, but also Sukshma Sharira, Indriyas, Karana Sharira, everything. So he says, just like a person has different kind of bodies. Yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. Same person has different bodies. So one is kaumaram. Kaumaram means Kumara. I think there is a definition of the word Kumara. I believe, if I don't know, I don't remember exactly. I think it's 6 years. 6 years, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that you don't have, your personality has not been gelled yet. You're still kind of having experiences and so on, but you don't have a self-judgment to the degree that an adult has. That's some kind of a, we'll go over it perhaps some other time, but this is what is called Kumara. So Kaumara means that an area of your life where you were 5 or 6 years old. So this is one deha. The second one is Yauvanam. Yuvana means grown up, a young person, 20, 25, 30, and so on. Then Jara. Jara means a body where the person is walking with the help of a walker and is not able to stand up. All the parts of the body are becoming so weak that you need to be supported. And so, for example, in my mother-in-law's case, she's remarkable. She's 94. Now it is to a point she has fallen enough that we don't allow her to walk by herself. We ask her to just hold our hand, put her in the car, take her out of the car, and so on, because the consequences of breaking a bone at that age are not good. So it's called Jara. So he says that, listen, just like you were extremely young, then you were an adult, and you also had a old wrinkled body. Similarly, Dehantara Prapti. You get another body after a while. Because why? Because the current body is giving you too much trouble, so you have to give it up. And Ishvara makes sure that that happens to you. He looks at your prayers and he says, okay, time to get another one. So you get another body. These are all different bodies. You are the same person. This is what he's saying, is that you are the same person. Don't you see you are the same person that you were young, same person when you were an adult, same person? You cannot say that was a different person, because otherwise you will have no memories or nothing. So he says, so anyway, this is the, I'll go into this detail more, but this is the verse, okay? Now, in introducing this verse, let's look at Swami Shankarananda's introduction. So where he says is, even though the meaning of the word that, this is what is called Tatpada Lakshana. Tatpada Lakshana means the meaning of that, and Tvampada Lakshana means the meaning of you. So the meaning of that and the meaning of you has been already discussed, and their identity has been pointed out. So even though the Tatpada and Tvampada has already been done in the last couple of verses, how has it been done? Now let's recall that. So when the verse number 12 says, Natvevaham jatu nasam. So it means Natu eva aham jatu, na aham asam. He says that I was never born and I was never gone. So who is he referring to is I. I means I, Krishna, as the avatara of Ishvara. So avatara means a form of Ishvara. So that means that, see, I was never born. Why was I never born? He gave a very good explanation for that, and we went through this. I'm just recalling on that point. He said, listen, we know that Shastra says, and it is a very common knowledge, that the whole cosmos came about. It is born, whether you accept it's a big bang or whatever it is, or it is a manifestation or it's a creation, something came about. And that it is continuously changing, and at the time of pralaya it will actually become invisible. Okay? So let's look at the birth of the whole, something whenever it started. He said, don't you see, Arjuna, that I must have already been there on which all these changes came about. See, this is the important thing to see. This is what is called Tatpada Lakshana. Tatpada Lakshana means that if you talk about all of the cosmos being born out of someone, then someone out of which the cosmos was born must already be there, isn't it? Because nothing can come out of nothingness. Something can only come out of something. That something must already be there. Then out of which then the whole cosmos came about. This is called Tatpada Lakshana. And then he says, so this was the first part of verse number 12, Natvevaham natu jasam. Natvevaham jatu nasam. Natvam. And not only me, but you also. Ne nama ime janadipaha, and all these. So not only you, Arjuna, but everybody else that is an individual is the same way. How is it the same way? How is it the same way? Because you were already there, so that an imposition of one kind of body followed another kind of body, followed by another kind of body, followed by some death and becoming another kind of a body. You're already always there. Don't you see this? And so it's not just I was always there, you were always there. So this is what is called Tvampada Lakshana. So now, based on this, Swami Shankarananda says that listen, even though the meaning of the word tat and the meaning of the word tvam has been introduced already by Krishna, but it is not yet fully accepted by Arjuna. He doesn't quite appreciate. He is listening. And he is listening with some shraddha, with his hands done, and says, please tell me the truth. What's going on in here? Krishna says, okay, are you ready? Let's listen to me. So he says, okay, I'm listening. So even though Krishna is talking about it, he's not convinced yet. He's not convinced yet. He's still on, I don't know about that. Yeah, it seems like it makes sense, but I'm not there yet. Why is he not there yet? It is because of an amazing commitment that has happened over thousands of lives, over the wrong truth about the world, that the world seems so real to me, my way of looking at it, my way of behaving and all that is so false. It's like layers of dirt over my mind. They are so thick that I cannot immediately uncover it and come up to the truth. And so in order to, and the Shastra knows this. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna knows that this is going to happen. So he doesn't have unreasonable expectations from Arjuna. That, boy, you're so stupid. Don't you see what I'm telling you? No. He's very patient. He knows that Arjuna, it's not something that's going to happen right away. I have to really reiterate it in different ways. Like I have to wait for his mind to calm down, wait for his mind to become clearer. And so, but I have to be patient with him. So with that, the same topic is now presented in another way, in number 13. Dehino asmin yata dehe. So he keeps talking about the same thing in a similar vein, but with a slightly different attitude. So this is the paragraph or the introduction. So as I want to do, as my goal is, that I first want to give you the explanation first, and then read the Sanskrit verses that underscore this introduction. So do the other way around. Instead of first doing the Sanskrit and then explaining it, I'm doing it the reverse way. I'm explaining it first and then following it up with a enunciation of the Sanskrit Vakya. So let's now do that. So I will briefly read the paragraph of introduction, and then we will do the actual paragraph of the verse number 13. So here, on page 48, he says, Evam tattvam padarthayoho shruti yuktibhihi shodhitayoho dayoho ekatve pratipadite sati api. So just look at the meaning of this. It's so wonderful. It's very simple Sanskrit. It's not very complicated. Evam means in this manner. The tattvam padarthayoho shruti yuktibhihi shodhitayoho, even though the meaning of the tatpada and tvampada by the authority of the Shruti and also yukti, which means logic, understandable logic, because of those two, has been shodhitayoho. Shodhita means it has been, shodhita usually means it has been cleaned, washed and cleaned. But here it means that even though it has been explained quite firmly and accurately and clearly, even though it has been done. So again, look at the meaning of this. Evam tattvam padarthayoho shruti yuktibhihi shodhitayoho dayoho, in both of the manner, ekatve pratipadite sati api. even though look like they are different, but they are the same. This has already been pratipadate sati. Even though this has been done, api, tvam padarthasya atmanah avidya tat karya kotibihi tirohitatvat ati sukshmatvat durvigyayatva cha shrotuhu. Okay, let's just pause at that point. He says, even though it has been done, however, because of the meaning of the Atmana, because of the Atma, the meaning of the Atma is covered up by a sense of ignorance, avidya, and tat karya kotibhihi, thousands of coverings, doubts. But I was born at a particular time. How about that? How can you say I was never born? And I'm having so many problems. I think at this point I better take Ricola because of the irritation in the throat. He says, Sati api tvam padarthasya atmanah avidya tat karya kotibihi tirohitatvat. So now 3 examples are given. Tirohitatvat means one which has been hidden. Ati sukshmatvat, because it is extremely subtle. Not easy to see. Like for example, that we saw that if there is a bee sitting on the window, then without getting very close to it and understanding that it is really outside, not inside, is a sukshma, is a subtle way of looking at it. By looking at it far away, just concluding, I think it is inside, that doesn't do it. You have to approach it carefully and ascertain the difference between them. This is called sukshmatvat. Durvigyayatvat cha. Difficult. It is not to look at the mithyatvam of the world is not easy. Please give yourself credit. Be very patient. This is one of the things that I studied a lot in this last 1 month with Swami Akhandananda ji. He says this is not easy. You have to put all your efforts into it. And so anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. So this is called Durvigyayatvacha Shrotuhu Mumukshoho. Shrotuhu means that the one who wants to know, the one who is listening, there Arjuna, Mumukshoho, one who wants to be free, Mandapragyasya. Mandapragyasya means one who is not yet prepared, who is not not qualified yet. He's still not, because each one of us, we have to spiritually qualify ourselves. Just like, it was interesting just to, so in the last couple of weeks or so, when I felt okay, I started walking a lot. I did not start my workout. I only started my workout about 3 days ago, where I put some pressure on my heart and lungs and so on. But before that, I was just walking. And so I will put on my headphones while walking. And I decided I'm going to learn some new things. And so there is a podcast. What is it called? The title of the podcast is called The Science of Everything. The Science of Everything. And I found it very fascinating. They have like 150 episodes, and I've only done it by 5 or 6 times. Each one of them is about 45 minutes, which is what I usually walk in my backyard and outside. So one of them was the science of, what's it called? Like science of particle physics. And fascinating, really fascinating. So it went through the atomic structure, what Newton's view was, then how slowly it became more sophisticated and the old ones were discarded and the new ones brought about, and so on. And they would often say, I think there was like a connection of 4 or 5 podcasts which says, for you to understand quantum mechanics, which is what I was listening to, you must see my previous broadcasts, which is atomic structure, etc., etc. So you cannot go to the final view unless you have the preparation for the previous view. This is exactly our situation in life. Exactly. Somehow we feel that as soon as we listen to Vedanta, and yes, we have Shraddha towards it and so on, it should just now become very clear to me. But it doesn't, because the principles of quantum mechanics are so subtle and so difficult to grasp until you have done preparation. If you've done preparation, it becomes a snap. So this is what he's talking about. He says, Shrotuhu mumukshoho manda pragyasya, means one who is a manda pragya. The pragya means one who is not very qualified. Yavat patipatti baddha aparoksham tavat, he says, until the aparoksha jnanam. Paroksha jnanam means aparoksha jnanam. Until it is clear, it needs to be repeated. Avritti asakrit upadeshat. So this is from Brahma Sutra. It's one of the Brahma Sutras, which says, Avritti asakrit upadeshat. That means one has to resort to it again and again. This is what Maharshi says, that you cannot just do once and then you feel frustrated. How come I don't see this? Therefore it must be wrong. No. It is not wrong. It is Vastu Tantra, and you just have to see it the way it really is. So, iti nyayena punah tvam padartha shodhanam eva san kartavyam iti suchitum uttara grantham arabhate. So he says, in order for this to be done again, then the Uttara Grantha is now taken up, which is verse number 13. So here, in verse number 13, he talks about the fact that, listen, there is a time-bound ways of looking at your deha. Just look at it this way. Please think about it. that one person has multiple stages of the body. This is looking at it this way. This way means this axis of time. Okay, so this is one thing. And this axis of time is unchanging. Unchanging in the sense that the death doesn't end it. All death does is to replay the same thing. So the beginning is really the end of the previous life, and the end is the beginning of the next life. And all throughout, all you're doing is, I have a body, I have a body, I have a body, I have a body. Different kind of bodies. So this is one axis. Right? Let me see if I want to. But then, Swami Shankarananda also points out that, by the way, what he means about the dehantara prapti, can also be looked at on a different dimension. This is an important thing to see. Your thinking should be based fundamentally on the dimension of time. So this is one axis. This is one dimension. Okay? Dehantara prapti. We've already gone through that. But there is another dimension which is a vertical dimension. This is really interesting. So you have a horizontal axis which is a function of time. Every second your body is changing. But there is a vertical dimension where the body gets destroyed through your own experiences. So if you want to look at it this way, let me pictorially say that. That means you have a vertical axis on the horizontal axis completely. Don't you see this? What is this vertical axis? This vertical axis is you're taking up different bodies within a 24-hour period. And different body means swapnavastha. You're taking up a dream body. Back to sleep body. By the way, it's interesting. One of the podcasts I heard, not saw, but what I heard was the science of sleep. And wasn't interesting. It went through all the 3 or 4 stages of sleep. It was good to know. Deep sleep, then you have the dream sleep, REM sleep, and so on. Then towards the end of the podcast, this guy who's from England, I think it's an English accent, who's running this podcast, says, why we have a dream we don't know. And there are various theories. I was thinking that, maybe what I should do is to write to him and say, sir, we know what the dream is for. But are you willing to listen to me? Are you willing to see what the value of the Vedic Shastra is? Probably not. I'll be wasting your time. He will send me back and saying, Thank you for your inquiry, but no, I'm not sure. You are so focused on science that you miss the truth of what the... Anyway, that's a separate thing. So then we have this second dimension, which is the dimension of sleep, dream, waking. Sleep, dream. All three bodies are changing. So you see what I'm saying? You have this, amongst the Jagrat Avastha, you have this axis. But you also have the same phenomena of changing the bodies within a 24-hour period. This is what, I'll just focus on that part of it. He says on page number 49, the beginning of this paragraph, Jiva apetam vava kila idam mriyate na jiva mriyate iti shravanat. So he says that the Shruti says that it is only things associated with the jiva is killed. The jiva is never killed. Jiva means the jiva upadhi, but this is jivatma. So it really means the atma. Never done. Kincha jagrat swapna dehayoho sushuptau nashe sati atma sadbhavaha na jnayate tathapi sushupta uttithaha swayam yah swapramadaksham cha sukham swapsam soham iti idanim jagarmi iti swapratibhigyan balena jagrat sushuptishu atmanah sattvam nityatvam cha yatha janati tatha tad deha nashat antaram. Anyway, so what this points out is this second dimension, that please see Arjuna, although he doesn't, this is the commentary of Swami Shankarananda, even though the Gita doesn't say that, Krishna doesn't say that, but he adds the second dimension to it. That listen, not only is it dehantara praptihi, but on a given 24-hour also your deha gets getting destroyed and reborn, destroyed and reborn. This is what talks about. So this is the verse number 13. So I think we'll stop there because I want to do something. Recently we had what is called Ganesha Chaturthi. So there is an event which was celebrated by an ashram called Ganesha Chaturthi. And so here the Ganesha, the stuti for that was done through prayers. So when I was listening to it, I found that what our Pandits in the ashram were chanting was a complete Upanishad on Ganapati. And this is what is called Ganapati. There has a couple of names to it. It can be called Ganapati Upanishad. So I have a book here of 108 different Upanishad. So you can have the Ganapati Upanishad. This one. Ganapati Upanishad. And also a slightly different name. He says Ganapati Atharva Shisha Upanishad. And Atharva means that this particular Upanishad is from Atharva Veda. And so this one also is about Ishvara as Ganesha. So the Ganesha is not separate from Ishvara. It's the same form of Ishvara in different forms. So same form means that he's in the form of Shiva, in the form of Ganesha, etc. So when I was chanting, I thought this was a very complete view of Ganesha. And I actually went through this Upanishad a little bit more detail, and yet the chanting itself is very beautiful. The reason I'm bringing this up is, in the chanting of the Upanishad, it talks about you are, let me see, where is it? Just hold a second. Just 1 minute, sorry. Yeah, found it. So he says, Tvam dehatraya atitaha. You are, hey Ganapati, hey Ishvara, you are beyond the three bodies, Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. You are avasthatraya atitaha. Avasthatraya means that you are different from Jagrat avastha, Sushupti avastha and Swapna avastha. Tvam gunatraya atitaha. You are also beyond Sattva, Rajas, Tamagunaha. You are, all three of them are your manifestations alone. So when I was reading this in the Bhagavad Gita, this stuti came to me, and I thought this would be wonderful to play. And we don't do this enough. So let me do this. I'm going to play the enunciation of Ganapati Upanishad, and altogether it takes about 8 minutes. So I'm ending a little bit early, and I'd like to play the Ganapati Upanishad, at least up to 80% of it. So in the next 5 or 6 minutes, please just listen, and I'm going to just play it for you. And the meaning of that is the same as Krishna's teaching to Arjuna about the meaning of the fact that Natve Vaham Natu Jasam, that we are really beyond the three stages of the horizontal and the vertical. It's all the same. In all of them, all three of them are really nothing but the Paramatma alone. So with that, let me play this for you. Okay?
भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुजामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः यशेम देवहितं यदायुः
स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्ताक्षो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ
मूलम् नमस्ते गणपतये त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षम् तत्त्वमसि त्वमेव केवलम् कर्तासि त्वमेव केवलम् धर्तासि त्वमेव केवलम् हर्तासि त्वमेव सर्वम् खल्विदम् ब्रह्मासि त्वम् साक्षादात्मासि नित्यम् ऋतम् वच्मि सत्यम् वच्मि अव त्वम् माम् अवक्तारम् अवश्रोतारम् अवदातारम् अवधातारम् अवानूचानमवशिष्यम् अवपश्चात्तात् अवपुरस्तात् अवोत्तरात्तात् अवदक्षिणात्तात् अवचूर्ध्वात्तात् अवाधरात्तात् सर्वतो माम् पाहि पाहि समन्तात् त्वम् वाङ्मयस्त्वम् चिन्मयः त्वमानन्दमयस्त्वम् ब्रह्ममयः त्वम् सच्चिदानन्दाद्वितीयोऽसि त्वम् प्रत्यक्षम् ब्रह्मासि त्वम् ज्ञानमयो विज्ञानमयोऽसि सर्वम् जगदिदम् त्वत्तो जायते सर्वम् जगदिदम् तत्र तिष्ठति सर्वम् जगदिदम् त्वयि लयमेष्यति सर्वम् जगदिदम् त्वयि प्रत्येति त्वम् भूमिरापो नलो निलो नभः त्वम् चत्वारि वाक्पदानि त्वम् गुणत्रयातीतः त्वम् अवस्थात्रयातीतः त्वम् देहत्रयातीतः त्वम् कालत्रयातीतः त्वम् मूलाधारे स्थितोऽसि नित्यम् त्वम् शक्तिस्त्रयात्मकः त्वाम् योगिनो ध्यायन्ति नित्यम् त्वम् ब्रह्मा त्वम् विष्णुस्त्वम् रुद्रस्त्वमिन्द्रस्त्वमग्निस्त्वम् वायुस्त्वम् सूर्यस्त्वम् चन्द्रमास्त्वम् ब्रह्मा भूर्भुवः स्वरो गुणादिचार्य वर्णादिम् तदनन्तरम् अनुस्वारः परतरः अर्धेन्दुलसितम् तारेण रुद्धम् एतत्तवमनुस्वरूपम् गकारपूर्वरूपम् अकारो मध्यमरूपम् अनुस्वारश्चान्त्यरूपम् विन्दुरुत्तररूपम् नादसन्धानम् संहिता सन्धिः सैषा गणेशविद्या गणकऋषिः निजर्गायत्री छन्दः श्रीमहागणपतिर्देवता ॐ गणपतये नमः एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ती प्रचोदयात् एकदन्तम् चतुर्हस्तम् पाशमङ्कुशधारिणम् वरदम् च वरदम् हस्तैर्बिभ्राणम् मूषकध्वजम् रक्तम् लम्बोदरम् शूर्पकर्णकम् रक्तवाससम् रक्तगन्धानुलिप्ताङ्गम् रक्तपुष्पैः सुपूजितम् भक्तानुकम्पिनम् देवम् जगत्कारणमच्युतम् आविर्भूतम् च दृष्ट्यादौ प्रकृतेः पुरुषात् परम् एवम् ध्यायति यो नित्यम् स योगी योगिनाम् वरः।
ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Good, good. Good to see you all after so long. Thanks for all your good wishes. Yes, I'm fine now. All right, if there's no other questions, then I will take your leave and we'll see you some other classes. Hari Om.